Hi, I'm Mr. Payton. Welcome to my book review. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 1, entitled Kindergarten, which was my first year of teaching. Man, it was a wonderful year. I was so excited about starting to teach, and I had some added incentives in there. I was back at my childhood school in the school district I grew up in. My principal was still there, some of my teachers were still there, so it was a very emotional situation for me. I had friends that I grew up with showing up on day one with their kids, and so it was that part of it was really cool. But with that, obviously, comes some challenges. Knowing people that well, I thought was going to be only a bonus, but obviously there were some challenges, whether it was parents who were no longer together, or and just seeing my friends and community from that side of the fence. I've always been their peer and been going through the situations with them. Now here I was on the other side of things. And for some of them, they saw me as an adversary. Others of them saw me as someone who was part of the machine or part of the problem. And so a lot of what I did that first year was just to communicate to my friends and to that community that I was an advocate, that my goal was to try to make the learning experience as good as I possibly could for all of the students that were there, to try to be as supportive to all of the teachers that I taught with, and try to embrace and improve any of the programs that we were doing. So that first year, the greatest challenge that I experienced was just the lack of supplies. Before my first day of school, I didn't have enough books for every student. I didn't even have such things as basic as paper, crayons, pencils, and things like that. I should say that that year I was teaching third grade, and that'll give you a little context to why I needed those materials. In this day and age, in 2022, you would never be concerned with having crayons or pencils or things like that. Bear in mind, this was far enough back for those of you who are much younger watching this. This is when the internet was just getting going. So it wasn't a foregone conclusion for everybody to have a computer in the classroom. I had no computer in my classroom. I eventually got one at the end of the year, I believe. We did have like monitors, but they were basically just to input grades, but it wasn't anything like what we have now. And so in addition to not having enough materials, I also was new. And so I was learning the mechanics, just the basic stuff. Open and close the door, unlock it, lock it when you leave. I mean, stuff like that doesn't seem like a big deal to you. But I was on a campus where our classrooms were outside, if that makes any sense. Many people teach in schools where everything is enclosed. And so even if you forget to lock a door or something like that, it's not a danger to the public. Well, I worked at a school where literally someone could just walk through the fence, walk onto campus, and be near any classroom at any particular time. It wasn't set up the way things are set up now with lockdowns and things like that. So just remembering some of those mechanics was trying. Here I thought I was going to have to worry about writing lesson plans and delivering lessons. And I just had to get a hand on some of those procedures from the beginning. But my first year teaching, I thought it was a successful one because, again, I had knowledge of the community, which is a big deal. I knew what their needs were, and I thought I had trained fairly well in terms of how to structure a lesson, understanding my content. What I didn't account for was this idea that, and it sounds funny to say this out loud, but I wasn't aware that everyone didn't want to learn. And then you might say, well, why would a third grade not want to learn? Well, if they have other issues at home, things that are more important, like, say, maybe eating every day or having clean clothes. And even though I grew up in that neighborhood, to sit on the other side and be the teacher and watch kids walk home and know that they're going to come back in the exact same clothing, knowing that they may not eat when they go home, man, that started to wear on me. And so as you read my first chapter, you will see some insights into my frustrations there, how I solved some problems and created others because I wasn't aware of the domino effect that it would create. But that first year really forced me to really dig in to all of the training that I had. But more importantly, it allowed me to kind of introspect and think about what kind of challenges I went through as a student and how I navigated those things. And what I started to realize is that my mother had done such a good job of insulating us in terms of education. She just focused on the goals. And so even though we struggled with food and things like that as well, it was never something that distracted us from the goal, which was to learn. And so as I wrote this first chapter, you can hear and see that I'm trying to navigate how can I impart what my mom imparted to me in terms of focus on the goal and let the adults take care of your other needs. This has been my book review of my first chapter in my book, Fourth Grade. Thank you for watching.